People who can... Forgot what I was going to say. I'll remember in a minute. Let's get started, folks. First screenshot here. I'm going to go over several topics. All the links will be underneath the video as per usual. First screenshot here is something Old Fart Rants posted on the Y760 Nitro channel. I took this screenshot on May 2nd, 2013. And Old Fart Rants says, yes, I'll elaborate. You said you get paid to parrot BS propaganda, so that makes you a paid shill. I don't have anybody paying me or telling me what to say, and I don't have any stock accounts. Everything I say is my opinion, and here's the major part. Unlike you, I actually research what I say and make sure what I say is true. Google, maybe? So there's then here he is talking about someone named Kooky again, which I'll get to that later, but he says, unlike you, I actually research what I say on Google. Research what I say to make sure what I say is true. And then we have another screenshot here where he says the difference between the 50s and now is back then there were no health insurance companies. I guess you still don't see that they are the problem. So actually that's not true. Not even close. The federal government created a number of agencies during World War II, such as the War Production Board, the Office of War Mobilization, and the Office of Price Administration to increase total production, reallocate production to military uses, and control wages and prices unconstitutionally. Increases in military output were obtained in part by diverting resources from the production of consumer goods, manufacture of consumer items such as automobiles, refrigerators, and housing materials was forbidden. Little history lesson for you here, Old Fart, which, if you do you say you research, but I don't think so. The National War Labor Board was created by President Roosevelt, Franklin D. Roosevelt, by executive order on January 12, 1942. The board was established to determine procedures for settling disputes that might affect war production. The board had the options of offering mediation, voluntary arbitration, and compulsory arbitration to try to resolve controversy, but had no power to enforce its decision. It was also authorized to approve all wage increases where the total annual remuneration was below $5,000. The board quickly adopted the so-called Little Steel formula for wartime wage changes, i.e. based on a 15% rise in living costs from January 1st, 1941 to May 1st, 1942. In September 1942, FDR was given the authority to stabilize wages, control wages, and salaries based on September 15, 1942 levels. As a result of wage restrictions, employers who needed to attract labor resorted to providing a growing range of fringe benefits because of these price controls and wage freezes, such as pensions, medical insurance, and paid holidays and vacations. These benefits were considered non-inflationary as they were not paid in cash and thus did not violate the wage ceiling. Additionally, payments for overtime afforded extra income to workers without violating the limits on hourly wage payments. During the late 1940s, fringe benefits became more common as part of settlements reached in collective bargaining. So looks like your statement's not true. We have this little ditty from the Revenue Act of 1939, Section 104. Quote, except in the case of amounts attributable to and not in excess of deductions allowed under Section 213 relating to medical, etc. expenses for any prior taxable year, gross income does not include 1. Amounts received under Workmen's Compensation Acts as compensation for personal injuries or sickness. 2. The amount of any damages other than punitive damages received, whether by suit or agreement, and whether as lump sums or as periodic payments on account of personal physical injuries or physical sickness. 3. Amounts received through accident or health insurance or through an arrangement having the effect of accident or health insurance for personal injuries or sickness other than amounts received by an employee to the extent such amounts A are attributable to contributions by the employer which were not includable in gross income of the employee, or B are paid by the employer, end quote. And now concerning note number 3 of section 104, it says, quote, for purposes of paragraph 3, in the case of an individual who is or has been an employee within the meaning of section 401c1 relating to self-employed individuals, contributions made on behalf of such individual while he was such an employee to a trust described in section 401a, gotta love this jargon, which is exempt from tax under section 501a or under a plan described in section 403a shall, to the extent allowed as deductions under section 404, be treated as contributions by the employer which were not includable in the gross income of the employee, end quote. So you can see the government itself was gaming the system to make this proliferation of employer-sponsored health care insurance. They were responsible for it largely. In 1943, the War Labor Board ruled that the wage freeze does not apply to fringe benefits, including health insurance benefits. So you can see then they went on offering that. Employer-sponsored health insurance. Old Fart Rants seems a bit confused and doesn't know his history very well when he says there were no health insurance companies around in the 1950s. Certainly the government was already greasing the skids for employer-sponsored health insurance more than a decade before that. I'm not sure where he's getting this info from, most likely Google, but it's not correct. Healthcare plans were starting in 1929 as Baylor Hospital in Dallas, Texas enacted a prepaid health insurance program for school teachers. This is widely considered a precursor to Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Hospitals created the former in 1939. Shortly thereafter, physicians created the latter. Again, this is long before the 1950s when Old Fart Grunts says there were no healthcare insurance companies. And I assume he'd mean there are no healthcare insurance. I eagerly wait his video response. That'll be interesting, though. And you will put one up. I know you will. Why not a tax exclusion for providing employees with a car or housing? Why not? Why stop at healthcare insurance? I'll mention again, as I did in the screenshot, he's saying healthcare was better before the advent of Medicare and Medicaid. A stunning and candid admission indeed. You see how Washington steered this employer-sponsored healthcare into reality using the tax code to do it. It reminds me of the history of unemployment compensation. As I went over in my Mega Save the Queen refutation station, employers were poised to handle this themselves, allowing employees in the 1920s the ability to contribute to their own unemployment account. Eventually, a New York governor by the name of Franklin Roosevelt vetoed legislation that would have made this possible, but he wanted the government to handle it. Eventually, Washington decided to take it over. Employer-sponsored health insurance has followed the same government takeover trajectory. It's a great idea until you have a recession. Employer-sponsored health insurance results in healthcare insurance not being portable, unintended consequences. In addition, the fact that most healthcare expenditures are third-party government or insurance company insulates consumers from the costs of a given medical procedure. And since the 1960s, out-of-pocket healthcare expenditures have plummeted. It was 14% in 2002. It's around 13% now. That's not a free market. Much of the U.S.'s healthcare expenditures are attributable to government. See the two videos coming up on your screen where I went over federal spending trends in detail, healthcare spending being one of the topics. I eagerly await Old Fart's "that's boring" announcements because he doesn't dig into the details. He likes short arguments, a cliff notes for dummies. Old Fart Grunts also doesn't mention how state mandates have exploded in recent decades. In 1965, there were only a handful of mandates. Now it numbers around 2,000. Those are procedures that states mandate to be covered if one sells health insurance to a group or on the individual market in a given state. Some mandates are far more costly than others, and the number of, as well as the abundance of mandates, differs from state to state. It should also be mentioned that the existence of a highly progressive income tax system favors higher income earners, since employers get a tax deduction for providing health care coverage. More affluent employees will purchase even more insurance. Old Fart Grunts fails to note that the proliferation of healthcare insurance was pushed by Washington by manipulation of the tax code. I'm not against insurance, just against mandates. In concert with it, many of those mandates I will never ever use, but I'll still pay for them in the form of higher premiums. It's akin to having younger, healthier folks like myself subsidizing the healthcare of fossilized hippies. In closing for this section, Old Fart Grunts also doesn't know that Medicare and Medicaid operate on a price control regime. Despite that, spending in those programs has exploded, and it's resulted in many doctors refusing Medicare and or Medicaid altogether, or refusing to see new patients with that coverage. See the video on your screen for an examination of that issue. If Old Fart thinks single payer will solve any and all healthcare problems, he's dumber than he looks. Next.
Oh yeah, I remember now. People who can see their breath year-round, and gentlemen.
Our next order of business will involve Old Fart Rants trying to backtrack on a claim he made. He said the Bible teaches a flat earth, and they tried to backtrack from it. Well, I've been trying to get an answer out of him on that, and it's like pulling teeth. So what I did, I'm going to put up, there's a couple screenshots I have. One of them is from a video, response to Old Fart Grunts' his bogus $10,000 question, video from Minnesota State GOP. And in that, I have a screenshot of one of Old Fart's responses to me, where he's responding directly to me. I got the screenshot up. I have this was from October 18th, 2012. I have my cursor on his name as well. It's from that video. And he says, "Hey, I'm kooky, look at me. I can't answer a simple yes or no question no matter how many times I'm asked. My little brain is stuck on stupid." And then he says, "Hey, I'm kooky, look at me. I'm a giant moron." He gave me a giant moron award. So there he is responding directly to me in a comment calling me kooky. So I got to tie that in. Then another video, I have a screenshot from a video that's no longer up by the Cartesian Theist. And I responded to Old Fart. I said, "I had a question for you, Gramps." And I'm not going to go over what's the subject of these comments right now, just that he's calling me kooky. So he says the burden of proof is always on the person making the claim, kooky. So there he is responding to me again directly in a comment calling me kooky. So now we're going to where I'm trying to get a response from him on this. He said he never claimed that he said the Bible teaches a flat earth. He said, "I never said that." He was trying to backtrack from it. So I challenged him on the Athena's Conquest channel, and I took a screenshot of my comment and his response. I said, "Old Fart Rants, I have several comments from you replying to me directly on vids calling me kooky, so if you use that term, I'm going to assume you're talking to me. If you're not, Old Fart, you need to clarify. You recently cried about my insults towards you." And then he responded not too long. Granted, his says 1 day ago and mine's 2 days ago, but I happened to save the screenshot right before his switched over to 2 days ago. And there he is right above me saying, "Yes, kooky, of course I mean you. However, I reserve the right, blah, blah, blah." And then he goes and throws a fit. And then on the Y760 Nitro channel, I did the same thing. I said, "Old Fart Rants, I have several comments from you replying to me directly as kooky on vids, so if you use the term kooky, I will assume you're replying to me." So, and then right after that again, he says, "You say I'm powerless against you, kooky." I don't know what he was talking about there. I didn't say anything about him being powerless. And he says, "You think we're tangling, do you, little fella?" I didn't say anything about tangling, so I don't know what he's talking about. And he plays his ad populum appeal. So, Old Fart, if you're not referring to me as kooky, you need to identify who you're talking to, unless you're talking to someone that's not there, which would seem kind of odd, wouldn't it? I apologize for having to go through all that rigmarole, people, but I had to get. I need to get some clarification from Old Fart Rants because I tried to get an answer out of him concerning his flat Earth allegation. And here's what he said on the Athena's Conquest channel back on, and this was December 9th, 2012. He says, "Kooky, I never said the Bible teaches a flat Earth. I said arguing with you is like arguing with someone who thinks the Earth is flat. And I didn't say the Bible says there are unicorns, which he did, and we'll go over that in a second. I asked you if you believed in unicorns. So he did say the Bible teaches a flat earth. The next one, he says, hey, Kooky, the Bible talks about the earth being flat, round, and a circle, and a table on 4 legs. I guess he doesn't know anything about Semitic idioms. And being underneath something called a firmament, I guess since you can't operate a concordance, you don't know what the firmament is. You haven't looked up the Hebrew word for it, have you? Whoops. But here I have a video clip from, it's my Fire Rush Limbaugh response to Old Fart Rants, where I used some of the audio from one of his videos, and he did indeed make this allegation, and now he's trying to backtrack from it. And I challenged him to go and look at the Hebrew text. Look at the definition of those words. Look at it in context and see if he still comes to the same conclusion. But he doesn't want to because he likes short arguments. He does not get into details. So here it is. Let's roll the tape. He made a stunning allegation, and I'll have the links go by on that. My friend J.P. Holding has debunked this allegation. He claimed that the Bible teaches a flat earth, which was kind of odd. And, of course, JP actually goes to the Hebrew word and studies it in context. Imagine that. And comes to the conclusion that, of course, the Bible does not teach a flat earth, but that's a canon that's been passed around a lot. Take it away, old fart grunt.
Changes lately. And she was wondering why the phrase "in God we trust" got moved over to the edge of our new coins. She said, who calls a shot like that? Who makes a decision like that? It's a disturbing trend. What are you scared of, Sarah? That if the words "in God we trust" keep getting closer to the edge of the coin, they're going to fall off like Columbus did at the edge of the flat earth that the Bible talks about? Well, if you really want to know.
So, old fart, what you need to do is go back to the Hebrew. Do a video on the original Hebrew responding to those videos. And study it in context and make your case if you can. I doubt you will, but good luck with that, old man. This will be our last piece of business, folks, and I'll be recycling some screenshots here. Old Fart, you'll see the screenshot up there. This is on his video, one of his videos I was debating him on before he blocked me, and he said, I went to a Christian university where I studied the Bible front to back, and I've been studying it for almost 50 years. Which was baloney. It didn't happen. And then he says later, and I'm going to tie this in. This is where I'll be recycling some screenshots. He says, your Pharaoh's philosophy and fish are irrelevant. And here, all these questions had a biblical theme to it. And as I said before, he tried to retreat from this. Do you believe in unicorns? Which, if you see my Old Fart Rants Reputation Station video, he didn't know what the Hebrew word was for unicorn. Yet he'd been studying it for 50 years. I'm going to reiterate that. That had a biblical theme to it. And he's avoided me when I've been asking him about that. He's been running scared. Do you believe in talking animals? That's referring to Balaam's donkey, so that's a biblical theme. Do you believe diseases are caused by demons? Yes or no? Biblical theme there. Do you believe in zombies? I wasn't sure, so I went back and asked him about that, and I have a screenshot proving the zombie remark was had a biblical theme to it. Do you believe Noah's Ark was real? Yes or no? Do you believe in dragons? And what's the Hebrew word for dragon in the Old Testament, and what's it mean, old fart, and what's the context? Oh, you did. Oh, you've been studying the Bible 50 years and you don't know. Okay, yeah, I'm right. Then we got the screenshot where he says the Bible talks about the earth being flat, round, in a circle. Obviously, he doesn't know about what a Semitic idiom is, as I said before. Yet he's been studying it for 50 years. He looks at it. He's reading the Bible as if it was written in English, and he reads it like he would read the New York Times. And, of course, a lot of these screenshots will be going in later videos responding to old fart grunts. Then he says, Kooky, I never said the Bible teaches a flat earth. Already dealt with that. But then he said, and I didn't say the Bible says there are unicorns. I asked you if you believed in unicorns. But actually, he was asking. You saw the previous screenshot there. He was, all those questions had a biblical theme to them. Even the unicorn crack. Then he said, when I mentioned zombies, oh, great Bible scholar Kooky, I wasn't referring to Lazarus. I was referring to the most famous zombie of all time, the magic, cosmic Jewish zombie, the star of the bleeping Bible. So, and then he throws a fit. He absolutely went bonkers. And as I wrote in there, this proves the rant about Noah's Ark, demons causing disease, zombies, unicorns, etc. all have biblical themes to them, yet he can't operate a concordance. Don't you find that a little odd? In conclusion, folks, this is why Old Fart Rants gets this coveted award, because apparently I pay better attention to what he says than he does. So if you get a chance, ask him how you can study the Bible 50 years and read it like it was written in English, like today's edition of the New York Times, and not know how to operate a concordance. He was puffing himself up, and I know he'll complain, oh, this video's long, it's boring. It takes a while to delve into the details of an issue. There are people who have dedicated their lives to studying becoming New Testament scholars, people writing commentaries on books in the Bible, people doing whatever, studying science. People devote their lives to these subjects, and Old Fart tries to reduce most of them to a 5 or 10 minute video. So he's all about generalization. That's why people are attracted to his channel, because he's an entertainer. That's all he is. He's not an expert in anything, and he'll BS his way through anything. So in conclusion, you did not study the Bible for 50 years, Old Fart. That's why you are a giant moron, Troglodyte. More to come, though, and I eagerly await your video response, Old Fart. I know you will upload one in the near future. Good luck with that.